I'm glad to
On August 31st, David Stilwell, the Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of East Asian and Pacific Affairs, announced a significant adjustment to the U.S. policy toward Taiwan. He announced that economic and business dialogues are underway to provide a comprehensive look at the U.S.-Taiwan economic relationship, particularly in the areas of semiconductors, healthcare, and energy. He also reiterated the U.S. stance on the One China policy, emphasizing that the U.S. has no position on Taiwan sovereignty. On August 31st, David Stilwell attended a seminar hosted by the Heritage Foundation, in which he indicated that the U.S. will follow the Taiwan Relations Act of 1979, the 3 joint communiques between Washington and Beijing, and the 6 assurances provided by President Reagan to Taipei in 1982 as the guidances for the U.S. policy toward Taiwan. These significant adjustments are still well within the boundaries of the One China policy of the U.S. David Stilwell pointed out that the U.S. was compelled to make these adjustments based on 2 factors. 1, the increasing threats posed by Beijing and the actions the U.S. and other countries should take to stabilize peace and stability in the region. And 2, the U.S.-Taiwan relationship is not an adjunct to the relationship between the U.S. and China. The U.S. is fully committed to upholding the Taiwan Relations Act and to helping Taiwan resist the CCP. He said, "In recent years, the Chinese Communist Party has targeted Taiwan with diplomatic isolation, bellicose military threats and actions, cyber hacks, economic pressure, and united front interference activities. These actions challenge the peace and stability of the Western Pacific. Let's be clear. These destabilizing actions come from Beijing, not from Taipei or Washington. We support the long-time status quo across the Taiwan Strait. Beijing has unilaterally altered it through flipping of diplomatic partners, pushing Taiwan out of international organizations, stepped up military maneuvers, and other activities. So we must act to restore balance. Other peace-loving countries should do the same." David Stilwell recognized Taiwan's great success in battling against the CCP virus in the pandemic and also recognized the fact that Taiwan is the critical node in global high-tech trade flows and U.S. technology supply chains, including for semiconductors and smart machinery. He indicated that the U.S. looks forward to working with trusted partners like Taiwan and will ensure that next-generation technologies, data, and intellectual property are protected from theft and manipulation by malign actors. In his remarks, he also welcomed the announcement made on August 28th by President Tsai to remove restrictions on U.S. pork and beef imports. He expects Taiwan to become an even more important trade partner of the United States and welcomes the expanded engagements with countries in Europe, the Indo-Pacific, Latin America, and in other regions. The United States also supports Taiwan's meaningful participation in international organizations such as the WHO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, and the International Criminal Police Organization. In response to this, Wang Meihua, the Minister of Economic Affairs of Taiwan, indicated that future economic and trade cooperation between Taiwan and the U.S. will focus on epidemic prevention, supply chain complementarity, and the negotiation of bilateral trade agreements. Now is the best time for both countries to sign bilateral trade agreements for which Taiwan is well prepared to sign. By both countries signing the BTAs, Taiwan will be encouraged to participate in the international community, and other countries will be able to resist outside pressure and to increase their willingness to sign similar agreements with Taiwan. This, in turn, promotes the economic stability and peace in the Indo-Pacific region.
On September 1st, Germany's foreign minister told his Chinese counterpart that the European Union remains concerned about the Hong Kong national security law and wants Hong Kongers' rights promised in the Basic Law to be respected. The Basic Law refers to Hong Kong's mini-constitution, drafted upon the city's transfer of sovereignty from Britain to China. The document guarantees Hong Kong's autonomy and freedoms not enjoyed in mainland China. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas made the remarks during talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who was visiting Berlin amid local protests over the Chinese regime's human rights abuses not only in Hong Kong, but also in Xinjiang and other parts of the country. Beijing enacted a national security law, which went into effect on June 30th, criminalizing any acts Beijing determines to be subversion, secession, and collusion with foreign forces with a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. Maas told Wang, who was wrapping up his European tour, which also included Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, and France, that the new national security law in Hong Kong was an important topic when we last spoke, and you know from your visit to the other European capitals that our concerns about the effects of the security law have not yet been allayed. He said at a joint press conference, "We want the principle of one country, two systems to be fully applied and the rights guaranteed in the basic law to be respected. We, in the EU, are agreed that this will remain our benchmark for developments in Hong Kong." Recently, the Hong Kong government postponed the 2020 Hong Kong Legislative Council election for a year, citing a local surge in CCP, Chinese Communist Party, virus cases as the reason. But it is widely believed to be a desperate move to prevent the pro-democracy camp from winning a majority of seats in the legislature. The German foreign minister called on Beijing to reverse the restrictions imposed under the national security law and allow the postponed elections to take place quickly and unhindered. Maas also spoke to Wang about Beijing's oppression of Uyghur Muslim minorities in the Xinjiang region in northwestern China, where over 1 million Uyghurs and other Turkic Muslims are believed to be incarcerated in detention camps. Maas said, "We would very much like to see China grant an independent United Nations observer mission access to the camps." Wang Yi rejected all criticisms of Beijing's policies, saying these were all China's internal affairs. Before the meeting, German politicians from both the ruling coalition and the opposition had demanded that the foreign minister criticize the Chinese regime's human rights violations in terms of other than the consistently reserved language toward China. Green Party leader Annalena Baerbock demanded that further negotiations on an EU-China investment agreement be linked to human rights guarantees. Marguerite Baz-Greens, chairwoman of the German Parliament's Human Rights Committee, urged the German industry not to be indifferent to what is happening in Hong Kong. She said at a rally outside the foreign ministry, "It is in the very best interests of German business to show solidarity with the democracy movement because free trade presupposes a free society. I expect German business to take a clear stand on the side of human and civil rights." Nathan Law, a former Hong Kong legislator and current activist in exile, said at the rally, "We have to act before it's too late." Law, 27, who fled to London after the security law was enacted, called on the German government to consider sanctions against officials of the governments in Beijing and Hong Kong. The rally was attended by hundreds, including representatives of Uyghurs, Tibetans, and Falun Gong practitioners.
An official delegation from the Czech Republic, headed by Senate President Miloš Vystrčil, arrived in Taiwan on August 30th for a 6-day visit. Top Chinese diplomat Wang Yi threatened that Miloš Vystrčil would pay a heavy price. Czech Foreign Minister Thomas Petrček immediately condemned and asked the CCP to explain. On August 31st, Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi said that Vystrčil was openly provoking the so-called One China principle and threatened the CCP will not take a laissez-faire attitude, let it go, or sit idly by, and will make him pay a heavy price for his short-sighted behavior and political opportunism. The Czech foreign minister immediately responded the same day, expressing strong dissatisfaction with Wang Yi's remarks. He said that Minister Wang Yi's wording has crossed the line, and such strong words should not appear in relations between two sovereign countries. Petrček also said that the Czech Republic has its own One China policy and reserves the right to cooperate with Taiwan as part of Czech domestic affairs. The Taiwan Central News Agency reported that later, on August 31st, the Czech Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced on its website that under Petrček's instructions, Deputy Foreign Minister Martin Tlapa had summoned the CCP's ambassador to the Czech Republic to express strong opposition to the Chinese foreign minister's comments.
Wang Yi is actually not acting like a minister of foreign affairs, but like a war minister. The CCP's wolf war diplomacy has never stopped. Regarding the Czech Senate president's visit to Taiwan, the CCP is irritated. The heavy price, Wang Yi said, must mean something, but the effect of what he did can only be counterproductive.
The CCP is obviously using a diplomatic and threatening way to prevent the international community from developing relations between these sovereign and independent countries in Taiwan. From the CCP's perspective, the Taiwan issue is China's domestic affairs. They will lash out if any country is officially involved in the Taiwan issue. This must be stopped.
Shuetsi believes that the recent issues in Xinjiang and Hong Kong have made the international community aware of the true color of the CCP. As the international situation evolves, sooner or later, European countries will keep up with the pace of the United States to fully resist communism.
The CCP is actually very stupid. It is now making mistakes on top of mistakes. It wants to play the Taiwan card and pinch Taiwan in its hands. People will think that the CCP is absolutely unreasonable. Faced with a crazy dog, the only way out is to fight back.
Li Jianping said that most countries will be disgusted when the CCP uses threats and intimidation methods. They will respond with even more things from a political and diplomatic perspective that the CCP does not want to see.
Threats and intimidation usually do not have much practical effect because each country has its own national interests and values in forming its foreign policy. They will think you don't have any power to interfere with my sovereignty. What kind of relationship I develop with Taiwan and my recognition of Taiwan's value is determined by my country's foreign policy. You should not intervene in using such a method of naked threat and suppression.
In a speech at the National Shunzi University of Taiwan on the 31st, Vistritsil emphasized that visiting Taiwan was the right decision. He said, "Because we believe this is the right thing, doing the right thing may not bring benefits in the short term, but it will definitely bring benefits in the long term." On September 1st, Vistritsil went to Taiwan's Legislative Yuan, delivering a speech, which is making him the first parliament speaker of a foreign country to speak at Taiwan's legislature in 45 years, and the first sitting legislative speaker of a country that does not have official ties with Taiwan to do so.
I am Taiwanese. I am Taiwanese. President Kennedy made his famous speech, "I'm a Berliner, ich bin ein Berliner," to express U.S. solidarity with the citizens of the besieged West Berlin in defiance of communism. Kennedy said freedom is indivisible, and when one man is enslaved, all are not free.
The head of Taiwan's legislature, Yu Shikun, said that under the pressure of the CCP, the Czech Senate president visited Taiwan, making the world aware of the existence of Taiwan. He believes that many European politicians will follow in the future. The Czech Republic had undergone 40 years of substantial control by the Soviet authorities. In 1989, the Velvet Revolution took place, and Czech Republic started to gradually transform into a free and democratic country.
Parents and students in China's Inner Mongolia region intensely clashed with police as they resisted the authorities' plan to end Mongolian language classes. Ethnic Mongols have been attending bilingual schools, and almost all of them master both Mandarin and Mongolian with native language proficiencies. However, the Inner Mongolia Education Department recently announced the plan to end Mongolian language classes and textbooks in late August. In the past several days, young students bravely broke through police barricades to boycott schools, teachers went on strike, and parents spontaneously gathered together to confront education authorities and voice their strong opposition. Students leave school as they refuse to take Mandarin-only classes. School authorities in a local school ordered students to stay inside the dorms. Many parents came to demand the release of their children, and hundreds of police came, trying to prevent the parents from approaching the dorms. After several hours of standoff, parents successfully took the students home. In another school, there was also a standoff between parents and police when the parents tried to take the students home. School buses were dispatched to take students back to school, but all students have refused to return to school.